Well, brethren, you might know that there was a tragedy at Charlottesville in Virginia, and the news media is just filled with fake news, and the attacks on President Trump have been, as always, unconscionable. So this is my understanding of what happened. There was a group of white nationalists. Brethren, we have freedom of speech in this country, okay? We do not have freedom of violence, but we have freedom of speech in this country. So there was a group of white nationalists, okay, who decided to protest against the taking down of a statue of Robert E. Lee, because the communist left, which is determined to overthrow our Constitution and bring a civil war in this country and destroy our democracy completely, they had been, at least part of their activities, I think, going through Black Lives Matter, they'd been trying to take down statues of every hero of the Civil War that had anything to do with slavery. But the bottom line is that they're fascists, brethren, and they're trying to force their opinions on the majority of the people who are just hardworking people. So a backlash is raising up in the country, and a group of white nationalists, people, what does that mean, white nationalists? I don't believe it's the Ku Klux Klan. From what I understand, they're a group of people that say the roots of this country are European. Okay, we have all colors here today, but the roots of the nation were European, and that's history. You can't deny that. Our forefathers, our heroes, were European. The founders were European, and they don't want these statues taken down. So they applied for a permit in this democratic state. They have a democratic governor, and Charlottesville has a democratic mayor, and the whole city council, I believe it's the city council, is black. The mayor is Jewish, and the city council is black. I think that's the right term, the city council. So the leader of this group legally applied for a permit to demonstrate outside the statue that's going to be taken down. And they were granted the permit because their application was legal. And then someone moved on the Jewish mayor and the black city council, and they withdrew the permit with no explanation. So the group that they're calling white nationalists, okay, went to a judge of a higher court who overturned the ruling and said there's no reason why you can't have this permit. So they got their permit. And they showed up at the statue, and the police refused to protect them. In a situation like that, there's always barriers put up, because you know there are going to be counter-protesters. The counter-protesters announced that they were coming. The police did not put up barriers to separate them, and when the violence started, the police would not protect the legal protesters. The second group, which were Antifa and Black Lives Matter, as I understand it, had no permit. They attacked the legal protesters. They came with all dressed in black, with masks on, with baseball bats, and cans filled with cement. They came with weapons, with no permit, and there were no barriers to separate them. They attacked the peaceful demonstrators, and the peaceful demonstrators struck back, and the result was a disaster. So President Trump condemned violence on both sides. So I personally don't know where you draw the line between not being violent and defending yourself. I don't know where you draw the line personally, but I agree that there should be no violence. And then unfortunately, a young lady was killed because some crazy person drove his car into the people, and she got run over and she died. But I heard her mother speak, you know, and her mother spoke very well. You know, that her daughter was there because she believed in a cause, and she was there protesting peacefully. So number one, everyone that was there was not necessarily a white nationalist or a violent person. There were some average people that loved the memory of Robert E. Lee and didn't want the statue taken down, and her daughter was one of them. See? There were average people there at the peaceful protest, which started the night before, I'm told, and it was peaceful until Intifada and Black Lives Matter came and attacked them with baseball bats and rocks. I think rocks also. And the rest was a tragedy. See? But no one on the news is telling you that the police didn't do their job. No one is telling you that the police didn't protect the protesters. No one is telling you that there were no barriers. No one's telling you that. Although I did see one video where the police chief, I don't know that he acknowledged standing down, but he acknowledged that the protesters were attacked. So the news media, the communist, democratic liberal news media, are attacking President Trump because he will not give all the wrong, because the girl was killed. Somehow they want him to blame the people that had the license. And when he says they're both to blame, they're attacking President Trump. How about who started it? Now the whole thing was wrong. He condemned the whole thing. He said the young lady was murdered. He called it murder, and the perpetrator should be prosecuted. And the whole thing was abominable and a horror. But how do you condemn the one group that had the legal license, and you don't mention the other group that came all dressed in black masks, which were intended to terrify you, by the way? They're all dressed up in black. You can't see their faces, with baseball bats and cans filled with cement. And there's no mention of that at all. Something's just really wrong. And the problem with this country today is that people don't do their homework. They just hear one little word, or they hear about it on Comedy Central, or they turn on CNN and they get fake news. And all of these silly CEOs that turn on President Trump. So now the corporations are the moral police, you know. But I listened to all of President Trump's speech. I listened to his whole speech. And I want to tell you that that man is my hero. I want to tell you that he speaks by the mind of Christ. I won't tell you that he has the mind of Christ, I don't know, but he's certainly speaking as if he has the mind of Christ. So at the very least, he's overshadowed by the Lord. He spoke the truth. It was a fantastic speech. And those newspaper people, they were just trying to trip him up and make him into some kind of, after all of the mess-ups that Obama did with regard to tragedies, it's the whole thing, you have to stop thinking that it's unfair, because then you get indignant, and then when you get indignant, they have their way with you. Indignance means that you're emotionally involved, so I have to not be emotionally involved, you know. It was just a disgrace, but I want to tell you the ignorance of the people is a bigger disgrace than the news media. The ignorant people that are jumping on the wagon and getting involved in attacking the man that's trying to save them. Attacking the man that's trying to save this country from being taken over by communists. So that's the saddest part of the whole thing, the ignorance of the American public. See? The whole thing was a setup. The leader of both groups, okay, the leader of both groups, I know one of them is Jewish, I'm not sure if the two of them are Jewish. Brethren, it's all part of a plan. It's all part of propaganda. It was set up. The whole thing was planned. It was set up. Set up by who? The CIA or the FBI. The deep state. The treasonous people that have at their hands the power of the CIA and the FBI. The deep state that's trying to take President Trump out. See? They set it up. They're treasonous. They're enemies of the country. They should be hanged. They should be tried, found guilty, and hanged. There are forces, communist forces in the land trying to destroy our Constitution and take over the country. And then you get silly people, and I don't mean to insult you, but the truth is the truth. You get silly people, silly, self-righteous people that are saying, well, if he can't say the truth when his side is wrong, or they're both they're both like two kids fighting, and I don't care. They should stop fighting. Denying the communist undercurrent that's setting this whole thing up. It just revolts me. I have to really make a concerted effort to not think about it, because it's very easy to get angry at these silly, self-righteous people. See? But President Trump, he was excellent. He condemned both sides, but nothing, it's not black or white. He condemned both sides. Why just condemn the people on the right? Why are you not condemning the people that came with the black masks and the baseball bats without a permit? Why are they not even being mentioned? Sometimes I think I'm living in an insane asylum. And the way the state of this country today, it is an insane asylum. So President Trump is standing. He looks good. I inspected him, as close as I could look at him on my computer monitor. He looks fine. He's dealing with the stress. He's a very strong man, and God is with him because he's speaking righteous words. His analysis of what happened is the mind of Christ. That's how I know God is with him. And these other crazy people that are attacking him are unreasonable or outright lying. So he's standing almost by himself. So I'm still hoping that the Lord is going to show up. And there has to be a big change when the Lord shows up. Because even if President Trump continues to stand and do what he's doing, throughout the term of this of his presidency, if the Lord doesn't kick in, even if he gets the 8 years, they'll overturn him after 8 years, because the people, the stupid people, citizens of this nation, are on the wrong side. It's that self-righteousness. When I was president of the board here, and I had unusual issues because the rebellion that's in the country was touching my experience as the president of the board of managers of this condominium. And there was one man who could break the tie. He was a Christian man that had the vote to break the tie. And he voted for the other side for the wrong reason. He voted for the other side for the wrong reason. And it was a few years later that he did tell me he made a mistake. Self-righteousness. Self-righteous people judge the people that are trying to do right but mess up a little. They don't see the whole picture. I've been teaching you this for years, how you have to be very careful. That usually the person that does the provocation speaks with a nice soft voice, and you can't see them put the knife into the person that starts screaming and yelling. And sometimes their screaming and yelling turns into a physical fight, and that's what happened last night. It wasn't last night, that's what happened in Charlottesville. But there were members of the alt-right there. David Duke's people were there, neo-Nazis were there. They're saying the Ku Klux Klan was there. Brethren, it's all a setup to start race riots in this country so that they destroy our Constitution and bring in a dictatorship, which will be communist. That's the bottom line. Anyone who's researching it knows that that's true. There were Cubans in the country and Chinese in the country that saw the same thing happen when the communists took over Cuba and China, and they're warning everybody. But these people that just listen to CNN and MSNBC and the news media they're all traitors. They're treasonous. I didn't see this kind of outrage when President Obama said something stupid like he blamed the police, or he spoke without knowing the facts. Nobody said anything. So, aside from the fact that, brother, my confidence is in the Lord Jesus Christ, that he has everything under control, and that he's going to show up, and that he, for his own sake, not that the country's in deep sin, but for his own sake, it's time for the kingdom of God to come in. He's going to straighten out this mess. I just don't understand the details of how he's going to do it. But aside from that, I listened to this Dr. Pachenik. Well, I don't listen to people that are going to depress me. I don't listen to the people saying World War III is coming. God has not told me World War III is coming. And so I listen to some of this news because I need to know what's going on. But I listen to the people that have a positive outlook. And I really like this Dr. Pachenik. He's a psychiatrist that has worked with military intelligence for years. And the knowledge that he has is it just amazes me. His knowledge is incredible. And he says that there's not going, and what he said is interesting. He said there's not going to be, because people are worried about a civil war, because it's already out there. The only thing that has stopped, Obama from calling out martial law. Now Trump is not going to call out martial law unless he really has no choice. He has no intention of doing that. But the only thing that's stopping the government and the deep state from there are members of the deep state in the military who knows what they would do, if they thought they could get away with it. That's the key. Who knows what they would do if they thought they could get away with it? And there's open talk about assassination of President Trump. There's open talk of declaring him incompetent so they can get him out of office with the 25th Amendment. There's open talk of overthrowing a democratically elected president. That's treasonous. They should be in jail. So anyway, the members of the deep state, they're scattered throughout the CIA and the FBI and other government agencies. And they're working against Trump. And to work against Trump, they're working against this nation. They're leaking classified information that aids and abets the enemy. They're treasonous. So the only thing that has stopped them from literally forcibly trying to overthrow this democratically elected president is that they know that there are, I heard of I don't remember what the number was, but there are a lot of armed people in this country. And there would be a civil war that would be a battle to fight. It would not be a piece of cake. It would be they could lose. They don't know how the military would respond. They don't know that the soldiers, they don't know how educated the soldiers are, or whether they would listen to their officers or go against them. They don't know. It's not a done deal. If they had succeeded in disarming the country, it would have been over a long time ago. They don't want to. They don't want to destroy the infrastructure, brother. They don't want to destroy the infrastructure. See? They want a peaceful takeover by fooling the people. That's what they want. So anyway, this Pachenik, he says, in his opinion, he says there's not going to be any civil war. And his argument was this. He said, if you believe that our civil war was over to free the slaves, he said, you're mistaken. There was no war fought to free the slaves. It was an economic war. The North, which was industrialized, wanted they wanted the Mississippi River. They wanted to build a railroad. They wanted to industrialize the South. So it was all about money. And I have no problem believing that. That I don't really know that wars are ever forbidden. Brethren, government is evil. Government is evil. That's why our Constitution guards us against government. We need protection against the government. Our Constitution protects us against the government. Okay. No government, which is basically evil, has ever gone to war to free any slave of any nationality or any color anywhere. It's all about power. Power and money, that's what it's all about. So I have no problem believing him that our Civil War was fought because the North wanted to expand industrially into the South. They wanted the resources of the South to expand industrially. So he said, wars are always fought over money and power. And he said, what Bush is doing now, despite all this hoopah that's going on, brouhaha that's going on, but Bush's commercial agenda is going forth. Jobs are coming back. Factories are being built. several factories are being built right now, right in the middle of black ghettos. That means jobs for poor black people at good salaries. He said starting at $20 an hour, depending on your skill, maybe up to $50 an hour. The factories are being built right now. So he said once the people get jobs and start living well, you're not going to go to war. Why are you going to go to war? You have a good job, you have a house, now you're going to be able to train your kids. You know, maybe your kids want to go to college, maybe they want to do something else. Doesn't have to be college, but they do need to earn a living so that they can support a family. You know, have money to raise up your kids. Who's going to go to war? So this is his opinion, that shortly those factories will be finished, and there are going to be thousands and thousands of poor black men that have been on welfare, that will now be employed, and they're also setting up, I don't know what he called it, I don't know whether he called it schools or not, but areas to train these able-bodied black men in the ghettos, you know, to do the job. So Trump is really coming through for the black community. Obama did nothing for them, except watching them. Trump is really coming through for the black community. So that's what he said. I hope he's right. And then all of this excitement and terrible things that you read about in the news, they're all false flags. They're phony. They're set up. The leaders know what's going on, and they gather together on people that don't know what they're doing. Either they're just rebels that want to have a cause, or maybe like this poor woman who died. I saw her picture. She was a lovely young lady. Well, it wasn't that she was there by accident. She was there protesting. So that also Trump was saying that. And he said on both sides. He said there were decent people there on both sides. I don't know about the Intifada, but he was trying to make it fair. But certainly on the side called the alt-right, there were people there that simply don't want these statues torn down. They're destroying our culture, brethren. So President Trump, he said, well, what are you going to come after? What statue are you going to go after next? You don't want Robert E. Lee. How about George Washington? He was a slave owner. He said everybody in those days was a slave owner. You're going to take down the statue of George Washington? What about Thomas Jefferson? He was a really bad slave owner. He was a notorious slave owner. What are you going to do about him? They're destroying our culture, and it really has nothing to do with black heritage that they were slaves and they don't want the statues. It has nothing to do with that. It's the communist agenda trying to overthrow the nation. Okay. So, brethren, you need to know all this, and do not be gullible by what you hear on the news. Do not be gullible. Take a little time to go on the internet and check it out for yourself. Listen to a few credible sources and then pray about it. But you need to know that underlying this whole thing is a communist attempt to overthrow our government. So for me, for my position, I do my best to get the facts. But my first inclination is to not go along with any condemnation of anything on the right, because they want to divide the right. So the foolish Republicans, they attack President Bush. The left is not divided. No matter what kind of crime they commit, no one speaks against their own. Only the right speaks against the right. So they're trying to turn the different factions on the right against each other. And I just pray that no one here falls for that foolishness, that you should pray about everything and use common sense. And if you hear something, you should know there's always two sides to the story. And that was another thing that President Bush said. There's always two sides to the story. There's always two sides to the story. How do you condemn one side? I've been telling you for years, there are mitigating circumstances. Nothing is black and white. Well, that's not even true. Sometimes, actually from a spiritual point of view, nothing is black and white. If you see someone's walking down the street and a gang of people, a gang of toughs, just destroy them, destroy that man or that homeless man. He didn't do anything. Okay, there is no white on that side. There's just the talking about black and white. Okay, there is no two sides to that. But spiritually, there's two sides to that. Why did it happen to that man and not that man? Spiritually, there's two sides to it. So, brethren, does anyone have any comments on this or questions? And then I do have a little Kabbalah for you today. Anybody have anything to say? God bless President Trump. He is my hero. And I have one good thing to say. Ever since he put, I think his first name is John Kelly, in charge of the White House, there have been no leaks. He is battening down those hatches. He's actually stopping the leaks. And I really rebuke all those CEOs that walked out on him. I understand that Walmart started it. But of course, Walmart is in the government pocket right now. All these Walmarts closing down and they're being turned into military camps. You know. But then it's a cold civil war. You don't know who your friend is and who your enemy is. You don't know. It's dangerous times. But we're going to get through it, and the kingdom of God is coming. But this government they're very evil people in this government, brethren. They don't love America. They just love themselves and their pocketbooks.